And there is a lot of talk about how men and women are not the same, and it's true. If you are a man and you are watching the video and you like women, in this case, this video is not for you. If you want, you can watch it and say if I'm right. But I will tell you that recognizing when a woman likes you is much easier. Why? Because she makes herself available. When a woman likes you, she makes herself available. If the woman is willing to talk to you, if the woman wants to go on a date with you, and if the woman wants to be intimate with you, that woman in a high percentage, I won't say 100% because we are all unique individuals, but I can guarantee you that in 99% of cases, that woman is emotionally investing. That's why she makes herself available for all of it. And if we start talking about other kinds of details, then it's very clear. The problem is that with men, it's not like that. You can be talking to a man, you can even be talking every day, you can arrange dates, you can be intimate. And you might find yourself, even if this goes on for a long time, in a situation where you're getting to know a man who is not emotionally investing in you. And of course, if he's also dealing with other women, and then one comes along in whom he does invest, you hit the jackpot. So since it's more complicated to determine how I can know if this man is also investing, let's talk about certain details to which I encourage you to pay close attention. Specifically, one that I mentioned at the beginning that I know is key, absolutely key, but obviously I will complement it with other little things that are also good to pay attention to. And interestingly, the more attractive a man will seem to you is before he becomes emotionally accessible. Why? Because if a man likes you a lot, if you catch his attention a lot, and he's even clear that he wants to pursue you, in an initial phase, what he will seek is to impress you. So let's say he will try to bring out his most masculine side. That is why when a man is not yet emotionally open or is not yet investing, he seems very attractive to you. Or because he is someone who doesn't pay much attention to you, and then you interpret him as inaccessible, difficult, emotionally unavailable, then that competitive streak comes out in you, thinking, I will make him want more with me. I will achieve it. I feel that I attract him, so I have something to work with. And you enter into competition with yourself and make an effort. And the more you try, the more you justify it. Or because he does have that interest, he does have the desire, but he is still at the beginning. And at the beginning, he will try to be your Superman, that strong man. That man wants to impress you and knows by pure biological instinct that the more masculine he appears to you, the more likely you are to notice him. So that's where he still doesn't show his true essence. What happens? When a man starts to invest emotionally, when he starts to think more about you, because men fall in love when they are not with you. They fall in love during all that time when you are apart. Sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on the interval in which you see each other. But a man falls in love when, being without you, he remembers you, thinks about you, recalls those moments, and starts to feel a series of emotions arise within him, such as wanting to take care of you, wanting to protect you, but also a very specific emotion emerges, which is the desire to connect. And there, an interesting part is unlocked, which is vulnerability. It's that man who no longer just seeks to show you that more masculine side to impress you, but the one who wants to connect with you. It's that man who already tells you his problems, his concerns. It's that man who, if something happens to him, wants to lean on you, seeks refuge in you. Look, a very silly detail, but for example, think about a man when he is already in a relationship, or if you have had a relationship, when they start using little kid voices or act more silly. That is to say, we've set aside the beginning, that facade of, wow, how attractive I am, I'm great. Oh, well, I'm more than that. Also that tender side, that childish side, that goofy side. But that side begins initially, in its earliest phase, with I feel capable of showing that I'm human, that I'm not a superhero. I've already passed the phase of wanting to be your superhero, and now I enter the phase of, I want you to see my more sensitive side, so I open up to you. When a man opens up to you, when he shows his sensitive side, When he even starts telling you, sometimes in a somewhat random way, things about his life, of moments, when he has had a hard time, of moments, when he has felt more vulnerable, when he admits his miseries to you, so to speak, or something that doesn't make him seem so attractive. He wants to share it with you. That is an undeniable sign that this man is already seeing you differently and that he has started to invest emotionally in you. Another detail we need to pay close attention to, beyond vulnerability, for me is almost indisputable, but well, there are exceptions. As always, it's also true that there are men who are very approachable or who tend to show themselves, or there are people who are very sensitive and show vulnerability almost like anyone else. So that would be a bit of an exception. But normally, and especially, if you've noticed that change, meaning at first he wasn't so vulnerable, and suddenly one day you feel that openness that shows more of the things that don't make him seem like a macho man, but rather the opposite. Well, there's your clue. What else should you pay attention to, as I said at the beginning? Any clue that makes you understand that this man thinks about you when he's not with you. Because as I told you before, we tend to fall in love more in the presence, whereas they, on the other hand, fall in love more when they're not with us. This is why I also emphasize a lot in my coaching sessions that as a woman you should learn to create space. Especially if you're dealing with the type of man, because there are all kinds, but there are men who have a dynamic where they get very excited when they meet a woman. This is very much driven by testosterone, right? They want to go very like, wow, I love it and I'm going all in. And not because they're thinking, I just want to take her to bed and that's it. It's not like that. It's not so perverse, so to speak. There are times when indeed they get excited, also on a level beyond just wanting intimacy with you. But that desire for intimacy mixes a bit with emotions and makes them go at too fast a pace. And if you don't slow them down, if you let yourself be swept away by that pace, saying, look, it's not me, Amanda. It's him who wants to see me every day, who wants to talk all the time. If you don't know how to put a stop to it, there are many chances that the pace he wants to set is too fast for him to have time to fall in love. So this is why you notice a lot. He seeks you out, 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 and then stops seeking you. And sometimes he stops seeking you after intimacy. And it has nothing to do with him not liking the intimacy or only looking for that. It has to do with him following his hormonal rhythm. That testosterone gave him the energy to seek you out, seek you out, seek you out. When, upon achieving the testosterone, his goal hasn't had the emotional time to develop the idea of thinking about you, missing you, stopping. So suddenly a mental switch can occur in him that can make him change completely. And if on top of that, at the moment you notice that switch, you go from having let yourself be sought after to starting to seek him out yourself, which is normal, because upon noticing that emptiness, then we already have a situation that occurs very frequently. Therefore, to avoid all this, I not only recommend that at the point of change you don't seek him out, but that we put the brakes on earlier. That is to say, if you go too fast because you get excited, I know I have to start putting brakes on you. Breaks like, well, today I can't meet up or I can't talk all the time. I have to allow or create those spaces myself to ensure that you will indeed be thinking about me. And to know if a man is investing emotionally, if there are signs that this could lead to a relationship, a very good clue is precisely to pay attention to this. If during the time we are not with him, he has thought about us, how? A man who is falling in love will have gestures. That is truly the case. Even the least attentive man will have them. The type of gesture can vary a lot. And yes, it depends more on our love language or our financial means or how we have been taught. That is to say, this is where things change, right? But he will have gestures. So the gestures can vary greatly. There is the one who gives you information that clearly shows he has been thinking of you in your absence. Well, the other day something happened, That is to say, I saw something and automatically associated it with you, even though I didn't have to. Or I thought this might please you, to the one who directly has a gift for you or who has thought a lot about where to have the date with you. Because sometimes we place importance on things like financial investment and, well, I'm not saying that we all don't like being treated, but believe me, there are men for whom treating someone doesn't mean there's any emotional investment. Maybe he's a man who is financially well off, and he also feels good or comfortable being the one who treats. So it's not a big deal for him to take you out, treat you, but then he turns around and doesn't stop. I mean, he doesn't think about you. I have a good time when I'm with you, but I don't think about you. That's the difference. Let's say there's the man who, he can have a good time. He can even have a great time being with you. And yes, you'll see him laughing. The conversation flows. Maybe the intimacy is great. And he makes sure you have a great time too. And of course, if he also has those gestures like saying, no, I'll pay, then you might think, great, right? I've listened to many videos where a very beautiful young girl emphasizes a lot that I have to make sure he pays the bill. Well, a slightly more mature woman with a bit more experience will tell you that this is not the most important detail. What is more important is if when he turns away, he still thinks about you. If he remembers really, you need to pay more attention to the details of what happens when he's not with you. And any detail that shows you, whether in a conversation he tells you or something agreed upon, or he sends you something he knows, or has a little gesture with you. That is to say, even though the small economic gesture might mean less than the cost of a meal, the fact that in your absence he went and bought something for you is much more relevant, even if the expense is lower than whether he invites you or not at the moment. Really, believe me. Another thing you can pay attention to, or that gives you a big clue, and is very related to what we mentioned before, is what happens after being intimate. Let's be clear. A man who is emotionally investing in you. After intimacy, you won't notice much change. He might even get closer to you and become more affectionate in his behavior. Be aware that sometimes even men who are emotionally investing in you need a small margin after that first contact or closeness, but it's a very small one, mainly due to the drop in testosterone, which is a very hormonal thing that happens. The man who was emotionally investing in you has also developed other chemicals, and this is why you will soon notice that this has brought you closer. In the sense that in the following dates, the touch in general, the way he addresses you, touches you, and treats you will be with greater confidence. So you will notice that in the end, this has made you closer. Now, when you notice an abrupt change in his desire, when it sets in after intimacy, well, that space where you almost feel that it's somewhat up to you to keep this going, or from there it continues. But he no longer makes an effort. That is to say, if he suggests meeting again, you meet up and the date goes well, and you have intimacy. But in the interval, he is no longer making an effort because he knew he had to put in more effort to reach that point with you, which for us is usually a further step of, let's say, for them, vulnerability is not linked to intimacy, but for us it is. So, just as it is difficult for him to take that step of opening up emotionally and showing vulnerability by telling you about himself, getting to know him, talking about his things, for us, it is usually more about taking that step of giving ourselves to intimacy. So that's why a man knows that for us to take that step, in most cases, not always, but in many cases, they have to put in a bit more effort for us to see that potential and say, okay, I'm going to show this vulnerability of mine. He maintains contact, but he doesn't maintain the effort. He doesn't maintain the desire. It's a key clue that he's not investing emotionally, that what he wanted he has achieved, and now he wants to rest on his laurels. Now, if you allow me, I want to keep enjoying what I've achieved just the same, because if I liked it and we had a good time, then why not? But now, obviously, as I know that I've made my mark, I'm not going to be making so many efforts either. So, an excessive relaxation on the part of a man after having achieved that, and I'm not referring to the next day, but in a more general tone, over a longer period, it's not bad. it's a bad sign. So, recapping a bit, things that if I focus on them, won't give me a clue. How well we enjoyed the date. The things we have in common, our sense of humor is the same. How well we get along in intimacy. Obviously, if these things fail, well, it's worse, right? But what I mean is that this is not key. Even, as I said, they write to me every day. Look, don't get me wrong. That these things happen is good. And obviously it speaks of a degree of interest and a need for communication and a desire for things to progress. But this in itself, per se, is not a sign. Once we have this, what do I focus on? To know if that man is opening up to me, showing vulnerability, sharing with me his not so masculine side, but rather his more sentimental side. He is seeking to connect with me on that level. What happens when we are not together? I notice that he thinks of me. I notice that he remembers me. I notice that he has gestures aimed at making me happy. Once we have taken the step to connect on a more intimate level, he still wants to be there for me and continues to make efforts. That's where I realize if a man is truly investing emotionally. And if he does that, there is a good chance that if you allow it and you are on the same wavelength, this ends in a relationship. Otherwise, if this part fails, unfortunately, the other, if we see that it persists over time and there is no plan, no proposal, nor projection, we should not deceive ourselves. Because even though these are things, you might say, Amanda, I only do this if I have an interest. That is, if I'm not interested in a guy for something serious, why would I talk every day? Why would I meet up and have intimacy if this doesn't lead me anywhere? Yeah, but they are different. Even if, as I said before, he pays the bill or something, it doesn't mean anything. Believe me. Well, I hope this video offers more clarity, and also please stay tuned. Even if it's not related to the video, but I think it is, that one of the keys, if you want to ensure that this leads somewhere, because if you want it to, learn to slow it down. Learn to give him more space than he wants truly. Learn to be the one, as a woman, who sets the pace and tries to calm his enthusiasm, not by taking away his enthusiasm for being with you, but by not allowing full access. Slow it down a bit, just a bit. Slow it down a bit. Observe what he does, not what he says. And all of that, believe me, will help you have more chances of making this work. Truly focusing on the pace, not letting yourself be swept away. First, there's a part where you learn to, if you can let him set the pace, it's better. But then there's a step beyond that. It's no longer about control or surrender. To allow myself to receive, but even in receiving, controlling the timing of what I'm given. And this greatly influences and helps it go the way you want. I'm telling you the truth. Well, I hope this video is useful to you, that you liked it. If so, and you're not yet subscribed to the channel, I invite you to do so, to hit the bell, because I would love for us to see each other again very soon. And until then, as always, I send you a big kiss.